it's going to be fucking heavy. Just straight up, just fucking absolutely balls to the walls heavy. A nice spread of, genres. We've got hardcore, and then we've got us who are like slamming brutal death and mental cruelty, black and deathcore. You guys, I don't even know what you call yourself. Technical death, grind, brutal death. And then you've obviously got the OGs of deathcore. One of the OGs of deathcore, Carnifex. It's going to be a fucking sick tour.
Hey, what's up, Vox&Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast, brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians, talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. I hope that you had an awesome week. I most certainly did. This Vox&Hops episode is presented by Heavy Montreal. Heavy Montreal are Montreal's premier metal promoter. And trust me when I say this, if you are ever in Montreal and you are looking for an amazing metal show to go to, well, Heavy Montreal will most definitely have you covered because they put on a bunch of gigs all year long. So trust me when I say they will have you covered. They most certainly will. I am beyond stoked to have Heavy Montreal behind the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast. All you Vox&Hops heads should most definitely come out and see me because I'm going out on tour. That's right. The Necromanteum Part II tour is coming up at the beginning of October, and it runs all the way until November. The Necromanteum Part II tour features Carnifex alongside us in Cryptopsy, Mental Cruelty, Organectomy, and Heavy Hitter. It's just going to be a blast. Grab your tickets, people. Head on over to my website, voxandhops.com/Carnifex to secure your tickets. Do it, people. It's going to be a blast. This tour runs from October 4th all the way until November 3rd. It's just going to be a blast. Come hang out. Grab your tickets. We're doing a bunch of Canada. We haven't done a long time. It's just going to be so much fun. The Necromanteum Part II tour is coming up, people. Let's do it. Now, before we jump into today's episode, I'd just like to ask you to follow the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. But more than that, I would love for you to tell a friend about the podcast. If there's someone in your life that just loves metal and craft beer, well, you should definitely let them know that the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast exists. You can tell them that there are over 460 episodes where I sit down with some of the world's best metal musicians and we talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you would encourage one of your metalhead beer-loving friends to become a brand new Vox&Hops head, that would be something that I would truly appreciate. Now, today on the podcast, I'm very stoked to be with Paul of Organectomy. Get ready, everyone. This is Vox&Hops episode number 468.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
What's up, everyone? Today I'm very stoked to be with Paul of Organectomy and Rendered Helpless. Alexander, we're going to be hanging out for a full month coming up in a month, basically, at the time we're recording this. By the time it comes out, it will be in 3 weeks. The Necromanteum Part II tour with Carnifex, Cryptopsy, Mental Cruelty, Organectomy, and Heavy Hitter. I love doing these. I think it baffles me that I haven't thought about doing these before. I did it first with Kelly Schaefer from Atheist before I went out to tour with them. Get to know someone that I've never basically hung out before on the podcast before hitting the tour, promoting the tour at the same time, encouraging everyone to come out and hang out with us on the road. But they can, right now they're taking a little glimpse backstage. This is what's going to happen backstage. These are the conversations that we're going to continue upon. And I'm happy that I get to break the ice with you here right now on Vox&Hops. How you doing?
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me, man. I'm doing great. Lovely Saturday afternoon for me. Nice 20 degrees Celsius. And I got myself a wee beer, so it's looking good.
Hell yes. Always enjoy speaking to people in the future. I joked about it before I pushed record. It's Vox&Hops. I hang out with my metal friends, talk about life and music while enjoying craft beers. What are you sipping on there, Alex?
I'm sipping on a lemonade sour ale.
Ooh,
From the company Beers.
okay. I like that.
They're a local Christchurch, like they call themselves a nano brewery.
Yeah, because it's so tiny.
Yeah, yeah.
Super tiny, super tiny.
Yeah, I've always had a soft spot for sour beers. And yeah, I feel like a lemonade one on a nice sunny days. Very appropriate.
Hell
So
yes. Mid-afternoon
yeah,
beers, not too high. What's the ABV on that? I would imagine it's not too
uh,
high.
5.2.
It's a little bit higher than I expected it to be, so that's cool.
Yeah.
I love New Zealand hops. I don't know if you're aware of the how popular they are. Is that something you're versed in? It's
Internationally, I'm not very aware, but I know that we do get quite a lot of attention. Ollie, who uh, is in your band and with Cattle Decap, I bought him a whole bunch of craft beers when Cattle Decap were down here on their latest last tour. So I bought them a bunch for the Christchurch show, and they were very stoked about it.
hell yes, but I have something right here, what I'm drinking, which is actually packed with New Zealand hops.
Oh hell yeah! What region?
I wish I knew the answer, but and I should, but I do not because it's actually my beer. It's from
Oh,
the Vox&Hops Haze Wars series. It was a competition that I put on early August for IPA Day, actually on August 1st here in Montreal. I put five breweries head to head, and they had to make their best IPA using Yakima Chief NZ line hops. So Yakima
mm,
is a huge hop producer. They started in the Yakima Valley in Washington in the United States, and now
nice.
they've moved over and they've bought a bunch of not bought, but they partnered up with a bunch of farms in New Zealand, and they've created their NZ line. And
Oh, nice.
if I go to a beer store right now in Montreal in North America, all of the IPAs are using New Zealand hops. So I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's all the rage.
We have some very nice, what would you call them? Hop orchards. Hop,
Yeah,
yeah. Um, where I grew up, there's just like these giant, just spreads of really green, lush
it's
hops
crazy,
growing,
eh?
and
Yeah.
right between like some, right in the middle of like valleys and stuff. So
Yeah.
all the runoff from the winter ice comes onto it, and
That's why it's
it's
just so delicious.
so
There's
pure.
a bunch of different strains. And this one we use three hops, the Motueka, the Riawaka, the Nelson Sauvin. I think
Yep.
Nelson Sauvin is the rock star of hops from New Zealand. For me, a
Yeah,
lot of people
that's
are,
that's the exact area I was talking about.
there you go.
Motueka and the
Oh,
Nelson.
so these are actually, okay, now I'm
Yeah,
understanding more.
they're from a valley or near the top of the South Island of New Zealand. There's a giant area that there's just hops for days, man.
And it's so interesting how they grow because they grow up high, probably
Mm,
like 20 feet in the air. These vines go up.
yeah.
And then I don't know what, it isn't the same um, picking culture when they cultivate them, when they harvest the hops right now in North America. For us, it's coming up probably next week or the week after. I'm not sure if it's the same for you guys because you guys are on the opposite side of the
Um,
earth.
uh, I wouldn't be able to say myself. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
that,
don't, I'm
that
not well versed enough for
hugely
that.
invested in it, but I do know that we get quite a rapid growth with ours.
Okay.
Like some of our hop vines can do like a foot a day.
Wow.
Like they just explode out of the ground pretty much,
Well,
or
hell yes.
wherever they come from.
I love it. I love the NZ hops, and I'm stoked that Yakima Chief sponsored Haze Wars for the second year in a row. Nano Cinco made a great beer. They did not win the Haze Wars, but they did win three out of the five categories. And
Mm.
somehow, even with winning three out of the five categories, they lost by votes, total votes.
Oh,
But killer, and what the artwork's cool. It's like a little boxer dude with a hop head,
hell yeah.
and I'm a big fan of them. They're actually from Quebec City.
Nice.
And we're actually playing at La Source de la Martinière together. And it's not that far. So I'm definitely going
Hell yeah.
to Nano Cinco when I play that show. 100%
Awesome.
totally doing that.
That's
I'd like to
awesome.
hear about your first beer. Do you remember your first beer ever, Alex?
Oh, fuck. Let's see. It probably would have been just some um local mass produced uh yeah, just standard off the shelf stuff. Probably good.
What is like the standard New Zealand beer?
Uh, I mean, when around the time that I would have had my first beer, it would have been something like Spates, which
Spades.
is yeah, which is from kind of down south of the South Island. Uh, or there's Export. There's some really gross cheap beers. We've got a couple called like Lion Red and Double Brown, and Um, there's a whole section of just like cheap mass produced beer in New Zealand. It's all pretty decent quality though. But all the craft beers nowadays have just absolutely exploded and taken over the taken
I
over the
know that
show, you
when
know?
I know that when we played Wellington,
Yep.
I went to Garage Project. I have
Oh
a
yes.
memory of that, of truly enjoying their products. And I can't remember, I meant to write down, and Ollie said that he saw him when he went back through with cattle again. There
Yep.
was a promoter over there that hooked us up in this little Airbnb next to the venue. Valhalla is the venue, I
Yep.
think. And next to it,
Would have been Ben.
yes. And he
Yeah.
hooked us up with a bunch of Garage Project beers. But then I went to the brewery myself and bought more because we
Oh
drink in
yeah.
volumes. But just but it was a really, really great experience. So I'm looking forward to coming back eventually and trying where things have gone in New Zealand.
Absolutely, man. Well, Wellington's kind of the hub of craft beers. Wellington, Nelson are kind of the hub for craft beers. Um, I've got a local grocery store that I go to. I've actually got a picture of it. They've currently got 391 different craft beers on
Wow.
in stock.
That's
Um,
crazy.
Probably good 90% of them are all New Zealand made as well.
Very cool. I
Yeah,
have
it's
not released a
insane.
beer in New Zealand, so it's on my bucket list to do with some killer New Zealand hops. It feels like it's something I
There's
should get done.
there's been a few bands around New Zealand who have actually gotten little uh
Band
like
collabs.
yeah, band collabs. There's a brewery called Boneface Brewery.
Okay.
Um, they've done a couple uh band collabs. One with a personal couple friends of ours have gotten one. But yeah, there's just heaps of breweries around, microbreweries that are just keen to, put their name out.
I love that. And I love that's what beer is about because it's very hard to make money in beer. It's about just getting brand recognition, getting your
Oh
name
yeah.
out into a different circle of like-minded people. The Venn diagrams cross over
Mhm.
enough that you can maybe grab onto some of that other brands' fans. And for the band, when you make a collab, because we have basically it's a flagship at this point here in Montreal, just outside Montreal in Kanawaki, where he makes the crisp Topsy for us. And for us, it's not a money thing. It's like it's just cool. He gives us a few
Yeah.
cases. We enjoy some beers. Life is good, and Drew is amazing. So shout out to Drew. I actually invented Haze Wars to showcase Kanawaki Brewing,
Oh,
which I don't
nice.
have their beer actually, but I invented it to showcase his haze because he's really good at it, and I feel like he's not getting the recognition he deserves here in Montreal.
Hell yeah. That's fucking
But he
awesome.
makes the crisp Topsy, the
Crisp
the
Topsy.
the
Fuck yeah.
Pilsner supremacy.
Hmm.
It's so silly.
It's awesome.
It's
I
the
love
only way
that.
that you're like a metal band, and the only way you can be silly is by making beer collabs. So, because
Yeah.
if not, we got to be serious. Well, I guess it's a
It's
little
it.
bit. That is true. Let's hit upon that.
Yeah.
The how it's more permissible now in metal to be funny.
Yeah.
Is that something you've noticed, or is it something
It,
that I just missed beforehand, or I joined Cryptopsy and I was so afraid of not being evil that I didn't understand that I could be funny?
well, I mean, I feel like there's definitely been humor all throughout the, metal history and the likes, but definitely early 2000s, late 90s, it was kind of just like, if you're metal, you're just anti-government, serious, anti-religion, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah. And it was just like,
deicide.
it's fucking serious
Glenn
business
Benton.
all the time. But now you've got, bands using, funny memes for
Yeah,
their samples and um, entire bands that have just created an entire fan base out of posting memes about themselves and making
like
jokes and
Infant Annihilator could be an
oh
example.
yeah, that's
Bro
a
Job is another one that pops into
bro
head.
job. Yeah, it's a big one.
And
Um,
then like I feel like Aborted is someone that early on just started being funny.
mm, yeah,
I
they
don't,
kind of took that whole horror, like
yeah.
the absurdity of horror movies, and just kind
hmm
of placed it in their music and in their image
I remember
and the likes.
playing in the Ukraine with them in Kiev and Sven saying, introing a song about freezing a piece of poop so that they could stab you with it. And I was like,
Oh
holy shit,
fuck.
okay, this is out there. But
Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
Sven's a good man.
Oh, he's awesome.
He's just a crack up.
I love him. The classic Vox and Hops question. The soundtrack of your youth when you were growing up in your parents' or guardians' house, what music was playing when you were not in control of the radio? What music did your parents or guardians listen to?
Oh, my parents were listening to the likes of Seal and
Wow.
a bit of Coldplay and just U2, that kind of like, classic, almost dad rock, but I don't know actually what you would call that. It's just that
Oh,
kind of,
it's like mainstream 90
yeah, like,
late 90s rock.
yeah, yeah. Um, kind of
Stuff that
real
you couldn't escape.
anthem style rock, not necessarily like Nickelback or anything.
No, no, not
Uh,
Canadian. No,
a little
no.
bit of Creed every now and then.
My dad had um what's Human Clay? Is that
Yeah,
the first record? Yeah, my dad
yeah.
had that.
I
It
I
was it.
specifically remember seeing that in a little CD rack in our lounge.
They're back. They're
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
everything is cyclical. I should have kept all my big pants. I don't know if I'd fit in them. Well, I could because we used to buy them so baggy.
Oh, your big jean pants and
I had them.
hell yeah.
My big ass corn shirt. Actually, I still have that big ass corn shirt. I should
Oh fuck.
pull that out at my parents' house. But that is something that's interesting too about merch that I'm doing now. Last tour, I had to order. I did like a standard merch order of numbers of sizes.
Yeah.
And now with this new cyclical style thing that's happening, where kids are wearing baggier clothes, I have to order less mediums and more larges because people
Yeah,
that
it's
don't wear mediums, well, they can wear whatever they want. But
yeah,
people that size, let's say 4 years ago, would have bought a medium are now buying larges because that's the style now.
yeah, yeah. It's
Whereas back in the day, I bought that corn shirt because it was the only one they had. And I was like, I'm going to buy it even though it's an XL and I'm definitely a small.
I've definitely got a few shirts that are definitely not my size because it was the only thing they had,
It's the one. There you go to
Got
the
a couple
music shop and
suffocation
that's it.
shirts like that and yeah.
What was like a Nickelback Canadian band? We had Bryan Adams, Celine Dion. What is like you growing up? What was like the New Zealand band that made hypothetically getting off the island seem possible?
Oh, oh, that's a good question. Um, uh, I mean, there's the likes of a band called Blind Spot.
Okay, I've
Um,
never heard of them. Yeah.
they're kind of like they were with the emergence of new metal.
Okay.
So they're around the early Slipknot times, a
And
little
they
little bit
went and did
after,
all
but
those big day out in
there
Australia
yeah
things.
there was definitely some big festival
Yeah.
slots that they pulled. There's some more underground stuff like they're kind of like groove metal, death metal, a band by the name of 8 Foot Sativa.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
they actually got onto, I think it was an episode of Monster Garage, like one of their
Okay.
songs,
That's cool.
which is quite cool. And I know they did a couple European tours, and I didn't honestly get huge into the New Zealand music scene until I moved down and started hanging out with the Organectomy guys. Um, so
What was that
by
prior
that,
to that? What was like what would be your first show that you went to go see? Was it with the Organectomy guys
uh,
or
no. So the first show would have been a local, um, would have been a local band. I think it was, there was just kind of this local thrashy death metal band that was doing a New Zealand tour, and they happened to come by our town. I can't remember their name off the top of my head, but that was when I was like 13, 14, something along those lines.
and what were you listening to at that point?
I actually that's about the time I had gotten into death metal and heavy metal and the likes. That
That's
might have
when you were
been
wearing that big ass suffocation shirt.
that might have been around the time I'd just gotten past listening to, like the Black Album from
Oh,
Metallica and
that's like a big like
um
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I went pretty quick from like, mainstream thrash into like some pretty serious brutal death. Like I remember going from Metallica to Guttural Secrete in like the space
That's
of
very quick.
maybe a
Yeah.
year. So that it was a very rapid growth um of taste.
What was it about that drew you in so quickly?
The well, that band, the band I mentioned, 8 Foot Sativa, they had one song that was just pretty much straight death metal, and
Okay.
the vocalist just did basically just did growls the entire way through it. The first time I heard it, I was just like, something about that is
Okay.
fucking firing some neurons in my brain. I love that. I'm gonna keep going with this. And then, you devolve from there and you find some, find like Dimmu Borgir and
Mm,
Cannibal Corpse. And then all of a sudden I'm listening to some brutal death metal band who at the time's only got like 100 fans,
wow.
like, and some random Japanese or Indonesian death metal band. It's just like, oh,
You're like
here
101.
I am now.
Yeah. At what point did you realize or think that you could? Because I remember when I started listening to extreme vocals, let's say Slipknot was probably the first of like the first album when he's just so raw and primal and and then like Mudvayne, Dig, vocal performance, just being like, I could never do this. It was never something I ever thought I could do back when I first heard it. Is it something that just came, you heard this and figured that you one day you could be able to do this like physically?
Um, I don't actually know really what triggered it. I just know that I wanted at some point I was just like, I was listening to early Cannibal Corpse, Chris Barnes era, and I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
That's Two in the Mutilated era.
Yeah.
Um, I want to do that. That sounds fucking cool. And so I tried and I tried and I tried and eventually just kind of like figured it out on my own.
It's the
Um,
only way. Like nowadays, I'm an old man. I'm gonna sound like an old man. Nowadays, kids have so many tools at their disposal on the
mm,
internet of learning how to do things,
yeah,
which is why so many young musicians are extremely proficient at their tool now, that their
yes,
instruments. They're so good. The drummers nowadays are so good because
yeah,
they can see these techniques. Back in the day, it was like a mystery. If you didn't
yeah.
go to the
You're on your
show
own. You got to
and
figure this out
somehow
yourself.
sit behind the drummer, you would never know what they were doing. You'd never know what Flo was doing back in the day. It was until he dropped his drum DVD, which is why it was so successful.
Yeah,
Nowadays, everything's just there. So enjoy it, kids. And I'm sorry I'm sounding like an old man. Same thing with extreme vocals.
yeah.
There's so much out there, these tutorials, really, really great people that showcase how to do it. But the best way to do it is by yourself
Mm.
because you have to accept the sound of your voice. That's lesson number one.
Yeah, it took me a good couple years to be able to like actually hear my voice recorded and not immediately hate myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's level
Like,
number one of becoming a good singer is accepting
yeah,
the sound of your voice and
yeah,
then honing it in to make it your own.
yeah, yeah,
Because you can't be a copy of someone else and be memorable. That's for darn sure.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
take me through that. You in your room, copying, mimicking, trying to be Chris Barnes early
yeah,
eras, and then eventually hitting that stride of being like, oh, this is my voice and where you wanted to take it.
yeah. So it was basically just listening to Tomb of the Mutilated pretty religiously, um, and also some of the not the early 6 Feet Under, kind of the mid-age 6 Feet Under stuff.
No E's,
Um,
not the E era.
no, not the E era. No. Um,
I'd love to have Chris Barnes on the podcast, so I'm not being mean, but
oh, I mean, I'd love to pick his brain at some point,
Mhm.
but yeah, I just kind of started listening to, those kind of albums, and I was like, that's real sick, and I'm gonna try and do that. Tried to emulate the growl, and I got it mostly down, and I tried to do some of his highs, and I wasn't really nailing that. But uh, this was about the time that Cameron Argon was putting out his like YouTube stuff, his like Disfiguring the Goddess, like the really early Disfiguring the Goddess stuff. And I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. That's gnarly. All these like vocal, um,
playthroughs, basically.
him doing his vocal stuff on YouTube early
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 YouTube. Yeah.
2000 noughts,
Wow.
and I was like, that's cool. And then I heard Cephalotripsy's Uterovaginal album, and Angel just doing the most disgusting gutturals, and I'm like, that's it. That's exact. I'm doing that.
Wow. I love
That's what
him.
I'm doing right
I
now.
love him very, very. I've never had him on the podcast, and I toured with
Do it. Get him.
Disgorge in 2014, I want to say. It was right after
Woo.
I got married. Like I got married, went on my honeymoon, came home for a day, and then got on the plane to go to Europe to tour with Disgorge. And
Yeah.
Angel was there. And what a
Hell yeah.
sweetheart. What a
Oh,
sweetheart.
he's a fucking darling. I love that man.
He still
We got to
credits me to
tour.
making him just enjoy being on stage. Because I
Oh
just told him,
shit.
you're good. Just have fun.
Just have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's every
Yeah.
time he sees me, he tells me. So I have to get him on the podcast to get it recorded. I cut
Oh,
you
what
off
a
though. You toured with
sweetheart.
him, you said.
Yeah. Yeah, he filled in for Ruben in Devourment on the
Yes.
Ingested
Yes,
tour,
he did.
last
Yes.
Ingested tour we
That's the
did in
last time I
America.
saw him with
Yeah,
Ingested.
that's
Yes.
right. And yeah, just got to absolutely bro down with him
He's the best.
for a month straight.
That's true. Did I meet you that day? Because I popped in Montreal.
We walked past each other, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
you were on your way out,
I was on a
so
mission. I had my kids.
that's
I
right.
do
Yeah,
this thing. It's a Matt move, but other people probably do the Matt move, where I show up early and we just hang out, and then I don't stay, and I go home to hang out with my family because I'm going on tour soon, and it's
yeah,
just I want to be home, but
yeah,
still want to go and see everyone and actually
yeah,
speak to them without loud music playing, and I don't want to stay until 1 o'clock in the morning to hang out with them
yeah,
then. Not that I don't want to hang out with them because you can't talk to people. I want to sit and actually have a conversation with people.
yeah,
So I did the Matt move that day, and I definitely saw Angel. We took pictures, and I love Ingested. And
yeah.
shout out to Lynn Jeffs, who I saw was on the Organectomy Instagram today, and it says that he
Hmm.
manages you, and I did not know he was doing that, so I like that very much.
Yeah. He brought us aside at the end of that US tour and was just like, I wanna manage you guys. And ever since then, he's been helping us, and he's been absolutely fucking invaluable to us. He's an absolute legend. Um,
I
Shout out,
really,
Lynn.
really, yeah, he's fucking awesome. I like him very, very much. He's one of the shortest Vox and Hops episodes because we were both so tired. We were in Manchester, and we were sitting, it was a really cool bar. And we went, and somehow I had more energy at the end of the night to go back there and hang out. But it was a short episode, but it was a long time ago. Uh, what I want to have about New Zealand, discovering extreme vocals, Angel. So finally, you're doing these extreme vocals, and organectomy's kicking off. Being in New Zealand, this is a hard question. This we find it difficult breaking through and making cryptopsy work,
Uh-huh.
modern day cryptopsy, let's say,
Hmm.
because we're from Canada.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys are at even more of a disadvantage. So can you speak about that? Or
Oh God.
maybe I'm just there isn't a disadvantage. Perhaps I'm wrong.
Yeah. Where do I even start? Fuck. Um, well, I mean, just from the get-go, getting any kind of attention drawn to, like, just ignore organectomy for the moment, just say New Zealand band. Getting any attention outside of your own country is uh, enormously hard, mainly because a lot of the algorithms these days,
Our
they pretty much
country
only cater
based.
to your locals.
Wow. Okay.
And the further away from the country and the social medias and the likes of that,
And you are the farthest away from everything.
pretty much like,
There's you and there's the south of Chile. And that's
yeah,
when the
yeah,
closest to Antarctica. But
exactly. Um, but like New Zealand, yeah, we're very small. We've only just breached over like 5 million people in our country,
which is good.
despite
Enjoy
being,
that. Yeah.
despite being quite a like physically large country. Um, and yeah, just getting any sort of attention as an underground band is quite quite ruthless. You do have to luck out a couple in a couple in a couple places. Um, but it's mainly about perseverance for New
Hmm.
Zealand. The biggest thing once you do get some attention though is the barrier for entry for almost any other country is like immediately like 5 grand. So
Well,
like
yeah, any
getting
plane tickets or anything, yeah.
yeah. For us, we're in the town of the city of Christchurch, which is one of like two or three major cities in the South
Hmm.
Island. The moment we want to play outside of our own city, we've got to start flying
Wow. Oh,
because
wow.
to
Okay.
go to
Hold on.
Wellington or to Auckland, who are the
I
other
have a world
two
map here
big
because I want to
populations.
see for real now. This is
Yeah,
not, sorry, that's Canada. Where's the world map, Jessica? Oh, it's over here.
I
Because
wonder if
I
the world map
did,
even has us on it.
I would hope so. It's a place map, but it does. It does. Okay, so I
Oh,
see what you're
nice.
saying. Okay, so it's the
Yeah,
only city listed on the
yeah.
South Island. And now, so
Oh,
you're
right.
even more south than I was in Wellington. So it's yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
intense. So wow. Yeah, so that's an investment. Are there um grants from the government that
Yes,
help artists?
we do have some musical grants.
That's cool
Um,
because you need it.
but
It's insane the expenses on
yes.
touring. And then the
Um,
visas for the states is something
mhm.
that you guys have to deal with.
Well, you've got to deal with
We
visas as
got them.
well, don't you?
I got them. I got them. They're in my bedroom. I got the papers last week too. I'm really happy. It's the most
Awesome.
stressful thing when you're organizing a
Mm.
tour and then you have to order the merch before you get your visas.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful experience. But
Oh, it's the best. It's the
let me
best.
buy
It's
the
definitely
plane
not
tickets.
shortened my lifespan, you know?
Let me buy the plane tickets and order X thousand amount of dollars of
Yeah.
merchandise
Yeah.
before the
It's
visas get approved. Yes, so
it's it's
that's okay.
brutal.
So anytime you go on a tour, at any point, there's a $5,000 deficit that starts right there.
Pretty much. Yeah. So
Wow,
like getting to our closest, neighbor, Australia, would be, you know, $1,000 per person there and
easy,
back.
easy. Yeah,
Like, and then that's also not what Australia in itself is also fucking massive. So
yeah,
you have to
huge. You got
pretty
to
much fly
fly.
between every city. So
Totally.
there's
You need to
another,
hook up with one of the
yeah.
awesome bookers over there, the
Oh yeah.
Haleys or other
Hmm.
options.
Um, but the likes of getting to Europe or getting to the States is for a 5 piece, it's minimum maybe $12,000.
Right off the
Like,
bat. My God.
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm happy you're coming and hanging out with us, and this is something you
Yeah.
chewed on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Are you doing one of the Cruise America things?
Yes, yes.
Awesome.
We've got a Cruise America, the 25-foot RV.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Um,
because there's like
we hit
this agreement with certain countries where you guys can get a rate, if I remember
yes,
someone telling me correctly. I feel like the Haleys told me,
yeah. I believe we get a slightly discounted rate.
which is still
Being an
exorbitant,
international
but
driver. Yeah.
which is still crazy, but still. I have
Mm.
done tours in those things, and they're good.
Yeah,
They're pretty
they're
sweet.
basically luxury for tours. Um,
Totally. Yeah. We destroyed ours on Summer Slaughter though. 2008. Just we reamed it. It was not, they were not happy. We must have paid, I wasn't involved in the finances back in the day, but we must have paid hefty fees
oof,
because we
far out.
scratched up the side and Flo pushed me through the window. And one of our windows got broken too when we were in Fort Lauderdale, I want to say.
Oh shit.
It was a thing. But we are doing a tour together, the Necromanteum Part II tour, and you'll be riding
Hmm.
around in this Cruise America. Talk to me from A to Z, stepping and choosing to invest at least $12,000 when you get the offer. Talk to me about getting this offer, hearing about the whole thing, being excited to tour with Carnifex. I want the whole story of how you even found out about this tour because I found out about it. I don't think I've said this on the podcast with anyone that I've done it with, so I'm going to take advantage of it now. And I meant to do it with Scott when I did my chat with him.
Yep.
Dom Grimao, who fills in for Ollie when
Hmm.
Ollie's busy with cattle decapitation. Dom was in The Last Felony. He's an ion dissonance.
Oh,
And he
nice.
fills in with Cryptopsy when Ollie's busy. I just said that. He filled in with Carnifex back in the day. So
Oh,
Scott texted him, I believe is what happened asking if Cryptopsy would be interested, and he passed it on to me. So I meant to bring that up in my chat with Scott, but we just went elsewhere and it never came up. So
Oh, cool.
what and when we got the offer, it was just Carnifex wants you out on the tour. There was no package. So when I saw the package being announced, I saw like a flyer that already existed. So I was like,
Yeah.
this is stacked. This is cool. What's
Hell
your
yeah.
story of this tour?
So we would have been on the Suffocation tour with in Europe, and Lynn, who's obviously taken over full managerial roles, and
Good job,
he's
Lynn.
got all the
Proud of him.
contacts and the likes of that. Just I think it might have just been out of the blue one day, and he was just kind of like, "Do you guys want to do a tour with Carnifex and Cryptopsy?" And we're like, "Well, yeah, fuck yeah, is this that's a fucking no-brainer from us. Like all of us love Cryptopsy, and I've been a big fan of Carnifex for I mean pretty much my entire metal adventure. And yeah, they basically sorry, Lynn just said, yep, there's oh god, is yeah, Scott has expressed interest, and they want to have you guys on, and we all just kind of talked about it and just pretty much said yes on the spot. And yeah, that's basically it. It was pretty straightforward for us. They were just like, do you want to play this tour? And we confirmed it right after we got back from Europe on that Suffolk tour.
Hell fucking
Um,
is. I think it's so cool how Scott basically handpicked all the bands
mm,
and created something that everybody is stoked to be a part of.
yeah, yeah. We actually got a video sent to us from their bass player. Oh
Mm.
God, I can't.
He comes out all the time when we go through
Yeah, he sent through a video of them listening to one
Arizona.
of our songs
Oh, cool.
on their most recent tour with Revocation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was pretty like, whoa, fuck, these guys are listening to us.
Hell yes. So they were probably already talking about it at that point.
Potentially, I'm not
Maybe it
actually
all
too sure.
spurned from that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I think it's so cool. What can people expect? Let's say like this is your little ad spot for this tour. Everyone listening right now, why should they come to this tour?
It's gonna be fucking heavy. Just straight up, just fucking absolutely balls to the walls heavy. A nice spread of genres. We've got hardcore, and then we've got us who are like slamming brutal death and mental cruelty, black and deathcore. You guys, I don't even know what you call yourself. Technical death, grind, brutal death. Like it.
Flow likes extreme music, but
Yeah, there you go. Extreme metal, and then you've obviously got the OGs and um of deathcore, one of the OGs of deathcore,
hell yes.
Carnifex. It's gonna be it's gonna be a fucking sick tour.
Do it, people. Get your tickets. You can go to voxandhops.com/Carnifex. Grab your tickets because these are going to sell out. It's really cool. But I'm really excited about, and I'm not sure if you ever done this. Have you toured Canada extensively?
No, we've only ever done the East Coast. Sorry,
Awesome. So we're
Toronto,
gonna hit
Montreal, Quebec.
like a lot of Canada, which is something
Oh
that
yeah,
we don't do very often. We're from here. So
yeah.
like we tend to hit Vancouver on all the North American tours, the US and a bit of Canada tours. All the
Hmm.
people not in that area is going to say something. We tend to hit Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, Quebec, but this time around we're really hitting a
Yeah.
lot more, like with the Calgary, the Edmonton, the Saskatoon,
Saskatoon, yeah.
and the Winnipeg.
Hmm.
It's and the Ottawa. Cryptops, we haven't played Ottawa in a long time, so it's going to
All
be
right.
super fun
I think we
to.
did one Ottawa show on our first American tour.
Okay.
That was the bloodletting tour that actually you turned up to.
Oh, and we didn't talk
I,
that
I,
night either.
yeah, no, we did.
Oh, goddamn, I'm
We
horrible. Yeah.
briefly talked. You actually gave me your Vox
My
and Hops
podcast card.
podcast card. Yeah,
I nailed. I interviewed so many people that night. I did
yeah,
Jordan and I
yeah.
did,
Travis.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, that was cool. I remember
yeah,
that night. Yeah.
yeah.
Jordan's
That was a
awesome
fucking
dude.
brutal tour. Like for us particularly.
Totally.
Yeah.
God damn. Okay, so we've been circling each other for quite a few times, and then always end up seeing each other at Fofunidiktik.
Yeah.
But not
Yeah.
this time because we're going to the Beanfield Theater, which in my mind is still Corona Theater in Montreal. It's a
Oh,
beautiful theater, and we're going to have a wonderful night. It's going to be packed. We're going to have so much fun.
awesome.
So,
That's
so
awesome.
much fun. If you could, I like making
Mhm.
beers. I made 85 of them in the past 6 years with the podcast.
Damn.
If you could coerce Boneface Brewing to make an organectomy beer, what would you call it, and what style of beer would you make it?
Oh. Um, well, I feel like, our last album was called Nail Below Nail, so I feel like Beer Below Beer
Mm,
could be a good one. Or we're currently working on another, well, we're about to begin working on another album. So
nice.
maybe whatever that ends up being, some play on words.
Nice. Yes, you have
But
to
I quite
because
like beer below beer.
we can have fun
Yeah,
with beers. It's the only time we could be joking, you know?
exactly. Um, oh, I'd probably do. I personally would probably do a sour.
Nice.
Some really like nice fruity sour.
Hell yes.
Um,
What fruits? What are New Zealand fruits?
oh, uh, pretty much everything. A lot of berries, actually. We're
Okay,
we're quite
which
we're
works
quite a
great in
big
beer.
berry country.
Okay,
A lot of peaches, a lot of apples.
that's all good.
Um, I'd probably go for like a berry sour.
But it's berries are
Um,
my favorite. Raspberries specifically are my favorite beer
yeah,
adjunct. They're so
hell yeah.
goddamn expensive. The breweries hate when I ask for them. But I have one last question.
hmm
Hopefully we get to try out this answer on tour because we have too much fun.
hmm
I just announced today, which people will understand when we have this conversation, that I'm doing guest list in exchange for craft beers on this tour. There have been a bunch that have been booked up in the past few hours since I announced it. And maybe by the time this comes out, it will be done. But if not, check Vox and Hop socials. I will update the posts with which shows are available because I like to get a bunch of local craft beers in exchange for guest lists, and I like to share those beers with the whole tour package. And hopefully, I can share a lot of beer with Alex here. And every once in a while, we get a hangover after that. So, what is your hangover cure?
Oh, hmm. Hangover cure. Probably some like a really dirty English breakfast.
Mm,
Like, full on hash browns, baked beans, um, fried mushrooms, the whole shebang.
I love
That
it.
would be
That's gonna cure it all. It's gonna soak it
oh
all up.
yeah. Oh
Crawl
yeah.
back into that Cruise America, and you keep going.
Yeah.
No
Oh
drive
yeah.
that day. You get someone else to drive.
Yeah. I actually don't do a lot of drinking on tour. I find that beer in particular just kind of like thins my voice out super
Oh,
hard.
okay.
Um, but I definitely do have a few drinks every now and then.
We do have days off, so we can line up
Oh yeah.
our
Oh yeah.
partying
I'll
together.
be I'll be right there.
Is that
We
something
can
that you did discover on tour that you couldn't partake too much?
Yeah, I just kind of wonder why, after a night of having a couple drinks, I'd be real scratchy the next day and why my voice would
I don't know if it's the
kind of
drinking.
sound a
This
bit
is me, the Matt who likes to drink there. Is it the drinking or is it the loud talking that you do when you're drinking?
probably a bit of both, to be honest. But yeah, it's just something that kind of figured out through trial and error, and
Like
I'm
learning how
usually
to
the one that
scream,
pardon?
like learning how to scream.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Um,
You said
and
I'm someone. Sorry, I cut you off.
I usually do a lot of particularly on self-driven tours, I usually do a lot of the night driving, because the other boys they like to drink a wee bit more than I do. Um, so it's I'm usually running
Safety
merch and then
first.
doing
Safety
doing
first.
the driving at night. So just keep us rolling, keep us moving.
Hell yes. Well, if you're doing merch, we're going to see each other a lot because I do hang out at the merch. I'm going to be there with my
Hell
good
yeah,
friend Chad Toper, who I love very, very much. And he will be manning our merch. And I always come out at the end of the shows to meet people and hang out. So I will definitely be there, Alex.
hell yeah. I'll see you
Um,
there.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me. This is great. I'm looking forward. The Necromanteum tour is coming up, people. Do not miss it. You will regret it. Alex, we're going to hang out a lot soon. And I'm stoked about that. And I'm stoked that we hung out right now. Massive
Hell
cheers to
yeah.
you.
Cheers, brother. I'll see you in about a month, eh?
Exactly.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. Man, I am very much looking forward to hanging out with Alex for the whole month of the Necromanteum Part II tour. It's just going to be a blast. I am so happy that I got a chance to connect with Alex before the tour so that we can know each other better. That way, when we're on the tour, all of those early ice-breaking days are just behind us, and we just get to hang out, just get to appreciate being on tour and crushing the United States and Canada on the Necromanteum Part II tour. If you have not grabbed your tickets for this tour, you should. It is going to be a blast. You can do that by going to my website, voxandhops.com/Carnifex. Secure your tickets, people, because it's just going to be awesome. Massive thanks to Alex for hanging out with me. I had a blast, and I hope that you did too. The Vox and Hops Metal Podcast is brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts. I hope you have a killer rest of the week. I will be back next week with another episode on Thursday. But until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beers. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.